is Vivek, who will act first. Blinds at 20 and 40,000 with the 40K ante, and up to 90K we go. And 8-6 suited, the hand of choice, clearing Igor Kurganov's king-queen off.
Interesting fold there from Igor, respecting the under-the-gun raise from Vivek.
Ace-queen for Christoph Vogelsang.
You can see Big Al here playing a little suited connector, 3-4 hearts. Probably the only player at the table, I would guess, that would have made this call. Really is a table of death. High-end players.
And here is a flop of potential death for ace-queen. Ace-8-6, bottom 2 for Rajkumar, and top pair and a good kicker for Vogelsang.
Yeah, so he's obviously behind now, but a lot of things can happen for Christoph where he's not necessarily going to lose a huge pot. He could also win this a lot of ways, an ace, a queen, a running pair. Vivek has to like the situation, but anytime you've got bottom 2 pair, you need to proceed cautiously, because if you assume your opponent has top pair, you always know that they're going to have a decent amount of outs, and when they do hit 2 better pair, it's often going to be hidden.
Well, not 2 better pair on the turn for Vogel. Second heart and a 10.
So in this spot for Vogelsang, he's going to check most of the time. Vivek, the question is, if he puts his opponent on an ace, which is the most likely hand, how much does he want to bet to protect those bottom 2?
Comes with 375K into 700.
So about half pot. Vogelsang sitting on 1.5 million, elects to just call.
Well, this is a high-pressure moment, and Vivek Rajkumar must be well aware of that as the big stack to open 6-8 suited under the gun at this table full of nightmares. This is a nightmare table, except for, no offense, John DeCarolis, who is, you know, a reasonable amateur, but he's not on the level of these other guys, the Bonomos, the Kurganovs, that Vivek has to get through with his 6-8 of clubs.
This is like all top 25 players and one rich dude. I mean, it's crazy. And let's be clear, this is a $1.25 million buy-in event, and we're 2 tables left and 11 players get paid. We are starting to get close to the real money here.
Right. Vivek is clearly trying to use his stack and run over the table. And even though these guys are crushers, maybe they're cowed a little bit. Maybe Vogelsang 3-bets usually in this spot, but he's like, I have 45 blinds and I don't want to get shoved on with ace-queen because I'm folding, so I'm just going to call and see what happens. I particularly think that against the under-the-gun range, unless you know Vivek is running wild over the table, that calling is totally fine with ace-queen out of the small blind. Either way, this is where we end up, right?
Yeah.
So the really interesting thing about up to the turn so far is how incredibly wide Vivek's range still is, especially considering what we know his pre-flop range to be, including so many semi-bluffs, value, and then some complete random bluffs, probably just for pressure, right? And then Vogelsang's range is so tight. And that tightness starts pre-flop, obviously, but then on the flop, talk about Vogelsang's range on the flop, Jonathan. It's already, once he check calls, like not that many hands.
I mean, it's not that many hands at all, really. He's got the ace-queens that he decided not to 3-bet. He's got all of those that are left. He's got ace-jack suited. He's got ace-10 suited. He's got, I think, some pocket pairs for sure, like pocket 7s, pocket 9s. If he has pocket 9s and pocket 10s, which I guess he does because he's got ace-queen, so he's going to have those at least some of the time, they exist as well.
Right, and of course he has some sets of 6s and 8s, but from Vivek's perspective, those are heavily blocked.
He may also have a hand like 8-9 suited. I'm not sure he does from the small blind, starting the hand with, what, less than 50 blinds?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that he can have that, but it's possible.
It's possible. If he does pre-flop, he's going to call on the flop with that
yes,
hand, right?
Of course.
And then we get to the turn, and the range narrows even further. We think once Vivek bets more than half the pot on the turn, Vogelsang's probably dumping his gut shot pairs, 7s and 9s, most of the time.
It's a little unclear, but probably.
Right. The 8-9 suited that he will continue with is definitely 8-9 of hearts, right?
Yep.
He's not going to fold that.
Can't.
He's probably going to keep calling with his ace-jack suiteds. Obviously, ace-10 is either a call or a raise now. Pocket 10s is a set. That's a call or a raise. And ace-queen has to do exactly what Vogelsang did, right? Even the ace-queen of hearts probably has to just call.
I just don't know what value you're getting out of raising with the ace-queen of hearts here. Like, we get so many good things when we call. Like, if a heart comes, Vivek might rep it. Vivek, of course, could have hearts. We don't want to blow him off hearts when we may have him drawing dead here.
Right. So from Vivek's perspective, it's pretty easy to range Vogelsang, and you can kind of act accordingly on the river. Vogelsang's kind of stabbing in the dark, just guessing and hoping, and I guess using distribution to make his decisions for the future street.
I mean, it feels like that's so much of what poker is anyway,
Yeah.
right? Guessing and hoping. But this hand is a pretty straightforward guess and hope. As Vogelsang, of course, we have the ace of hearts in our hand, which will narrow a little bit of what Vivek's continuing range is on the turn.
Do you want to have a narrow continuing range on the turn?
Really?
It's a really fun thing to have on Nitrogen Sports Poker. And you could have a wide one even and still have plus expected value in our monthly Poker Guys tournament because there's an automatic overlay, as Jonathan likes to call it. Use the link in our pinned tweet to get access to that tournament, or you're a dummy.
Dick has.
Well, you know, Vivek could have a lot of hands. He could obviously have ace-king, which beats you, ace-8. He does have 6-8. You're not sure what he has. Vivek's an aggressive player as well, but you just know that your hand is pretty high up in the range that you're going to have here, so you kind of are at least committed to flop turn, reevaluate on the river. Interesting river card. Oof, wow, checks it back.
At first glance, this really seems like a surprising, nitty-as-heck check back by Vivek. That was my first impression for sure.
Oh, mine too, yeah.
Like, why are you not getting value here? Why wouldn't you target an ace? And yet, as we unpeel the orange, we go deeper into the onion, maybe this is a great check back, Grant?
Perhaps the banana is a little bit unpeeled as well.
Perhaps.
We don't even know. I think it is a great check back, actually. Let's talk about Vogelsang's range once we get to the river here. This heart is kind of a big deal. Even though it's backdoor, there are 3 clear combos of flushes that Vogelsang can show up with here. 8-9 of hearts, if he has it pre-flop, definitely is here, right?
Of course.
He might just check call, but still, that's not good. You lose to that hand if you're Vivek. Ace-jack of hearts makes plenty of sense, and ace-queen of hearts makes plenty of sense.
Yeah.
So then the question is, what are we targeting for value? The only things left are ace-jack suited, which is a couple combos, literally 2, and ace-queen. Now, ace-jack, I think, is probably going to fold if Vivek bets again, right?
I mean, I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but I think as Vivek, when we open, it's $1 million buy-in tournament. There's 2 tables left, and we, from under the gun, went bet, bet, bet. Like,
Ace-jack's usually folding.
Ace-jack, it'd be very hard-pressed to continue.
Yeah.
I don't think we should expect to get called by those 2 combos.
Right. I don't think we should. I think maybe we should expect to fold out ace-queen a significant portion of the time for the same reason. It's not that different. I know distribution-wise it's different, but Vogelsang does have stronger hands in his range that he could get here this way with that he doesn't have to fold. And ace-queen, he can probably dump. Now, of course, ace-queen of hearts, he's going to check raise, and Vivek is probably going to fold to a check raise, which brings me to my next point.
Yes.
Maybe sometimes when Vogelsang has the combo that he has, or the other ace of hearts queen combos, he turns those into check raises. Because how can Vivek call with like anything except for the second and third not flush if he does that?
Like Vivek could go for value with some pretty good hands, ace-10 sets, even flushes. Of course, well, flushes you're probably going to get called by, but lots of strong hands, and we can blow him off almost all of them with this hand. By the way, if Vivek's going for thin value, we might get him off a chop, which has some nice extra cool little thing going on. That's not what we're targeting, of course, were we to turn this hand into a bluff. Like, we're targeting slightly better hands, ace-king, ace-10, stuff like that. But even a set hates its life when it gets check raised.
Might fold, especially in this high leverage spot. You don't expect the bluff that frequently. Now, maybe Vogelsang's the guy who can pull it off because he is the robot. But as we see, Vivek doesn't think it's really worth it. And I kind of agree with him.
Well, I mean, if you're Vivek, you're sitting there with 8-6. If freaking Vogelsang's going to turn ace-queen into a bluff here, you got real problems because you can't call with this hand for sure.
Right. If he's going to fold all of his ace-queen offs and ace-queen suiteds that don't have the ace of hearts in them, that doesn't get you anything.
Right.
And he's going to check shove with his flushes and then check shove with his ace of hearts queen combos that you're going to fold to. There's no real value in betting against the range.
It seems like there's very little value here. Like, maybe sometimes we can get called by some of the ace-queens.
Yeah.
But it's hard to come up with much else. Maybe those 2 combos of ace-jack suited will call. I doubt it, but maybe.
I really doubt it. And I really do think that they would expect to be losing, as would the ace-queens, which is why I think Vogelsang absolutely would, if continuing in the hand, turn this specific hand into a bluff. He would either fold it or turn it into a bluff, and neither of those things net Vivek any more chips.
Yeah, I think Vivek makes what is really a highly advanced in real-time check back here, which is the only way to sort of maximize value, which is basically to lose no value. Because putting chips in the pot probably costs him value by doing so.
It's actually very impressive, even though it looks mundane.
I mean, yeah. I sort of can't believe how good it ended up being.
Let's see what that solver had to say about this unusually fascinating hand. So the flop was mostly in line with what we wanted to happen. The turn is where it starts getting a little strange. It actually wants Vogelsang to donk 25% of his entire range and 37% of the time with this hand.
Why?
I don't know, just because it wants to be different. The solver's like, I'm not a conformist, so I'm going to donk all the time.
The solver's into having donking ranges in all the different streets, I guess. So it's like some of it's got to be strong, and this is one of the stronger hands I have and all that. But still, wow.
Still, Vogelsang didn't. I wouldn't.
No.
I don't think any person who was good at poker normally would in this scenario.
Wow, that's a little strong.
It's a little strong, but guess what? I said it.
Yeah.
And I can't take it back now because there's no delete on this microphone.
Nope.
So Vivek's bet on the turn. The solver likes it.
Yep.
Always betting the turn. The river is where the solver really deviates from the way we were thinking and the way that Vivek thought about this hand. It wants Vivek to jam 100% of the time, which is like a pot size-ish or more bet with 8-6 of clubs, which, you know, we gave all the reasons why we wouldn't want to do any sort of betting as Vivek.
Yeah.
I mean, we were thinking he would bet smaller and was concerned about the check raise. But it just feels like there's not value to be had. Of course, the solver is not aware of the situation that we're in.
Of course. The solver's thinking it's a cash game.
Right.
So there's no ICM yet. We're too far away from that. And the solver's like, well, you know, sure, we're just going to try and get value against an ace. I'm not going to overthink this.
Right.
But Vivek, I think wisely, is overthinking it. Vivek knows he's up against Vogelsang. Vivek knows it's a $1.25 million buy-in event and that we're 6 or 7 players away from the 7-figure bubble.
Right. And according to the solver, Vogelsang would have to call with this specific hand. The ace of hearts with a queen is a call because of the blocking of the flush, of course.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right?
It does.
Like, what else do we even want to... What is there a better hand to call with than this?
Probably not. We were speculating that a set of 10s is probably a worse hand to call with
Yeah.
because we want to block the nut flush when we call.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we know that Vivek can be jamming hands like ace 8-6, maybe a set of 10s is better.
Maybe, yeah.
But I wouldn't have thought he was going to be this wide, and neither would you, and apparently neither is Vivek
Right.
in this spot. So
Because Vivek is not a solver. He's a human with human thoughts and heart and brain.
probably we call with this hand, probably we call with the set of 10s. We don't love it, but we just have to call anyway. I think we do if Vivek jams, right?
Yeah.
We just have to.
Probably.
We probably raise that on the turn a lot, but when we don't, we just have to call.
Yep. Interesting stuff.
Yeah. So the solver really disagreed with us on the river and Vivek on the river. We thought Vivek made a great check back, and we thought it was possible that if Vivek bet small, Vogelsang was probably check raising some of this ace queen of hearts or ace queen with the ace of hearts. That is not at all what the solver thought. The solver strongly disagrees with that and says, of course Vivek's jamming for value. Of course he is. And of course, Vogelsang's always just going to call this hand. Although if Vivek bet small, the solver did like Vogelsang jamming 25% of the time. I'm not even sure if that's a bluff or not. And when it's the solver, it's less clear. So what do you guys think? Because do you come out somewhere in the middle? Do you agree with me and Grant and Vivek? Do you agree with the solver, the all-knowing, all-wise, our overlord solver? Let us know in the comments what you think.
Right. By the way, that solver work was done by Danny Sprung, and he's going to post it in our Discord. So that's one of the values of our Discord. There's a link in the description of this video. Take you to our Discord server. We have Poker Talk. We have your hands that you can post. And, of course, we have the hands that we do where our solvers go in there and post their work. So we'll see you there.